Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we're going to be talking about some Blu-ray sales because we are finally starting to get some numbers from the site called thenumbers.com, which is a very good site for tracking Blu-ray and DVD sales. And right now we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel's DVD and Blu-ray sales. And I know that there's some people out there saying, oh my gosh, Odin, please stop talking about it. Why are you so obsessed? Well, the reason why is because, keep this in mind, remember when this film came out? Remember all the crazy press for it? Remember how everyone was saying, oh my God, it's one of the best Marvel films of all time, and oh my God, this film is so great, and oh my God, finally Strong Woman, the first ever female performance from, female lead in a Marvel film, even though we know that that was done by Elektra long before that time. We talk about these things. We talk about how this story was overblown. We talk about how this actress, Brie Larson, was very much overblown, and it's still being overblown by the Brie bots that exist on Twitter. And this is dedicated to those Brie bots on Twitter because I know they're going to be butthurt about this. And that is that we have a 74% drop from week 1 to week 2 as far as it being tracked here. First 3 weeks in release versus the first 4 weeks in release, there's a 74% drop. Now, some people are going to look at this and say, oh my gosh, that's huge. Well, we need to keep this in mind that when it comes to Blu-ray sales and DVD sales, it's always an up and down game. There's going to be drops. There's going to be even rises. And what I'm going to try and show you is similarities to other films and where they dropped, and also how really back and forth it can be. So this is very early on. That's why I said we're not going to really know exactly how well this movie sold until we get to a further along point, until we get to September, until we get to maybe even October. But I say September, we would not only have numbers for Alita Battle Angel fully, but also we would start to get numbers for that movie, but also we'd have a full, complete understanding of this, because they only keep track of these movies for as long as they're on their list. And as you can see right here in the top selling Blu-ray titles of 2019, Bohemian Rhapsody is at number 1, Aquaman, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Captain Marvel, Fantastic Beasts top out the top 5. And so as you can see there, it keeps track of all these movies, but it only really keeps track of them for as long as they're in these various lists. I'll give you a great example of that by going to a film. Let's see, a film that's been out for a long time that they probably aren't keeping track of anymore. Let's go to The Predator. So as you can see, The Predator, it only keeps track up until February 3rd. So obviously the reason why is because it was only in the top 15 for a certain period of time. And once it drops out of that, they really stop keeping track of it, because it's really hard to keep track of these numbers, because obviously there's so many different stores. All the different stores will keep track of numbers in very different ways. And so that's why you oftentimes see in these sites that they oftentimes stop tracking after a while. And so Captain Marvel is going to be interesting. Are they going to have a long term? Is it going to be more like some of these other films that we're going to see, where there's several different weeks that we'll find it, up to 10 weeks in release? Or is it going to be not nearly as impressive, and is it going to drop off very, very quickly to the point where it's no longer in that top 15? Because currently it's, 2 weeks in a row, at least according to this, it's been at number 1, because remember that this is all about a month behind. So obviously right now it's not number 1, because right now Alita Battle Angel is definitely trending in that number 1 category, and I can't imagine any other film having gone to the actual brick and mortar stores and seeing no copies available of that movie compared to Captain Marvel, which you still see a plethora of copies. And I'll explain why you could see some discrepancies and why you could see something that's not exactly what we think will happen by the end of all this. But as you see, Captain Marvel, its opening week on Blu-ray, it sold 927,000 copies, making $22.5 million, which again is very, very impressive. But it did have a 74% drop in the second week that I was keeping track of it, and its grand total up to 1.1. So it's not at 1.1 million copies were sold. That's how many total units were sold, and we see that spending dropped to 5.9 million. And as I said, you're going to see this go back and forth, up and down. So don't get too excited quite yet about this film not being impressive. But what it also shows you is that yes, it's very important to support films in that opening week, but it's also important to try and get other people to buy the film also down the line, keeping the momentum going, because once the momentum dies off, a lot of people tend to not really buy movies, at least except every now and then. But if you want to really keep that momentum going and keep the movies in, that you want to support in those lists, you got to keep on supporting them. You got to keep on trying to get other people, because obviously there's only so many copies that we ourselves can buy. You have to keep the support in that way. So let's go to another film. So as you can see here, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was still being tracked. June 9th, 2019 is about where we are right now. And as you can see, it's in 15 release. It's ranked number 20 there, ranked number 4 in Blu-ray sales. And as you can see, look ahead and look at how much back and forth there is here. So it jumps from number 1 at one point to number 12, back up to number 7, back up to number 3 even as the week of June 16th. And as you can see, it's dropping 81% after the first tracking, jumping up 75%. And this is just the state of Blu-ray and DVD sales. There's really no understanding as to why. It could just be that, oh man, there was a trailer for a promotion, or maybe an ad saying, oh my gosh, it's available on Blu-ray, or maybe people were saying, hey, go support this film, or hey, go see this movie, and they thought, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. I'm gonna go ahead and support this week. That's why you see that fluctuation, because every single person's different, and every single person's gonna buy movies or rent movies on their different times. and on the different timelines. But as you can see, the total units as of June 23rd, which is the last time that this was tracked, 1.183 million copies sold, with a total spending this week of $845,000, making $35.2 million. Now, what's interesting about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I just posted this on Twitter earlier, is the fact that this film only made $375 million at the box office. This film did not even come close to cracking the $1 billion mark. And this is what I'm going to keep track of over the next several weeks as the Captain Marvel numbers continue to come out. Because if that film sells less copies and makes less money than Spider-Verse, then to me, that is a clear indication that it does not matter what a film makes at the box office to show a success. It's rather what it does in home release, because what this is showing is that people who saw the movie loved it so much that they wanted to buy it, and also that there are other people that have heard about it, and because of the positive word of mouth, have actually gone out of the way to buy it as well. And that's the reason why we know that, is because it did not sell tickets. It was not seen by a lot of people in the box office in comparison to other films, especially to major Marvel properties, because this was more of a Sony release than anything else. But imagine if the Disney machine was behind it, it probably would have been $1 billion film. It probably would be, selling even more copies than it is now, because they would have had more copies available. And that availability is very key, and we'll get to that in a second. Bohemian Rhapsody is a film that made a lot of money at the box office, but I don't think anyone in the right mind would say, oh yeah, that's going to be the top selling movie of 2019. But go ahead and look at it. It's ranked number 1 right now in total sales, as you saw on that last chart. And as you can see, this thing is still selling copies. June 23rd, it was ranked 18th, sold 8,000 units, and total spending $1.7 million sold on this, or rather 1.7 million total units, $33.4 million actually sold and rather purchased on this movie. So this film, again, was very much liked in theaters. Again, we look to those positive. This is the reason why you always want to look to not just critics, because critics obviously can say whatever the hell they want about a movie. You want to look to see what the audiences think, because if the audiences are mostly positive about a film, it normally indicates that they're going to actually go out of the way to buy it when it becomes available. Because if you really like a film that much, you're probably going to want to own it, or maybe at least rent it at some point in time. Bohemian Rhapsody had that very positive audience perspective, and so that's why it ended up doing very well. A great example really showing this separation between the critics and the audiences would be Aquaman, because remember, Aquaman was panned by critics. Aquaman was not supported, but yet the audience rating was exceptionally high. People love this film, and in fact, this film was the first DC movie to actually crack the $1 billion mark, because it was actually better than a lot of the other previous DC films had been up to that point. So as you can see, people are still buying this one on DVD and Blu-ray. So if you look at the Blu-ray sales up to June 23rd, it was ranked number 5. So it was ranked 5th. So as you can see, there's a lot of up and down going on even with this movie. With 25,000 units sold so far, it's sold 1.648 million units, making a total of $25.1 million. And some might say, why is it that some movies have higher unit totals but lower actual spending? And that's because, as you know, with Blu-rays, there are regular standard Blu-rays, and there's also 4K Blu-rays. And so what that means is that when you compare them, so let's say you have two movies that have very different units sold, but one might be higher. What that means is that people were more willing to spend extra money on getting a higher edition version, or spending more money and not waiting for it to go on sale, for example, than compared to the other units. And that's, again, something else that we need to keep track of when we are following any given movie for that matter. So the question then is asked, okay, so then what is this all about as far as total copies sold, and why is it that I'm focusing specifically on the battle between Alita and Captain Marvel? Well, one of the reasons why is because Alita, as you can see from all the photos and all the videos, cannot keep up stock-wise. The brick and mortar stores, let alone online, cannot keep up with the demand for that film, meaning they did not make as many copies as were necessary available for purchase. Compare that to Captain Marvel, which has just racks and racks and racks stacked on top of each other of all these movies, because it oversold it. It overpromoted it, saying, oh man, people are going to go see it. It made over $1 billion. People are going to buy this film up the wazoo. And that's not happening. And you can see that in the actual sales numbers for this film, that people really aren't going out of their way to buy it. Yeah, sure, 1.1 million is pretty impressive. It's probably going to end up at least in the top 10 as far as total movies of this year. Could even end up in the top 5 by the end of its run. We really won't know until about a month from now, when we have those further sales. But what this shows us, though, and again is made clear and has been confirmed by all of the stuff going on in stores, is that this film is made more readily available. But that also explains why this film has sold as many copies as it does. Because some people look at this and say, I'm amazed that it even sold 1 million units. And I am too. But the reason why is because imagine that you're a normie. Imagine that you're just a casual fan, and you're walking in a Best Buy, and all of a sudden you go up to these racks and you see 20,000 copies of one movie, and you say, oh, look, it's Marvel on the title. Oh, I heard about this film. I'll pick it up. I'll go ahead and buy the DVD, or I'll go ahead and buy the Blu-ray. They're probably not going to buy the 4K. They're probably not going to buy the Steelbook because the Steelbooks are still available. But again, that's kind of the mindset, is that because you so much, content there, people are going out of the way to buy it. Compare that to Alita, where in some cases, just like with yesterday at my local store, there were not any 4Ks on display. There were not any Blu-rays on display because they didn't have any more, or at least they weren't able to keep up with just the demand for the film. And so what that shows us is that that film is not being probably did not have as many orders as they expected or should have expected for this movie, and that's a very good sign. What that means is that that film is doing very, very well post-film release, so I can't wait to actually get some of those numbers in about a month, because I imagine that it's probably going to have sold well over 1 million units in the first week, or possibly close to it. But also, too, to see just the comparisons of these two films, and some people say, why do you keep comparing it? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. One, they came out around the same time. Two, the media were constantly putting them against each other as well, and they still, to this day, are putting them against each other as well. And also, they both tell very similar accounts as far as the characters being portrayed. They have both female lead characters. The difference is one focuses so much on I'm a wham and hear me roar, while the other one says, no, I'm just a badass character and I happen to be a woman. And that's the reason why more people are going out of the way to buy that one, making these stores sell out, buying all the collectibles, making the $150 collectible on Amazon, which really wasn't a good price, by the way. Obviously, I think people were more focused on trying to give as much money to to Alita as possible. But even that being the case, when you actually look, there's some reviews of that say, yeah, basically this was a toned down version of some other things you could have all bought individually. But the reason why people bought it is because they wanted to be able to have that in their collection. Compare that to this, where people are buying it because it's readily available. It's it's very much it's an easy commodity. And one thing that you could see is you could end up seeing that the sales, the unit totals for this movie end up going up, but the actual cost and the actual purchasing of the actual film goes down, because it could end up being, and I really think that that's the only way they're going to get rid of these copies, is to put it at a lower price. So anyway, guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Do you want me to do more Blu-ray DVD breakdowns like this for other films as well? Obviously, this is the big hot news of the day, but it's also very important for us to understand that, yeah, it dropped 74%, because I've already seen some people contacting me about this, and yeah, that's a pretty big drop. But compare that to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. As you can see there's an 81% drop between weeks. There was an 86% drop for Bohemian Rhapsody. For Aquaman, there was an 80% drop. So the actual drop does not mean as much. What means more in this situation is how much does it drop the next week, and then is it able to recover it all? That's why we still have about another month of coverage before we know just how well this movie is selling. And that's when I'll be able to have a better understanding to compare to other Marvel films, because this film is actually not really doing as well as some other Marvel releases. And also, as I said, because I'm actually in store for this one, I know that copies are not selling, or at least not selling at a high rate compared to other films that have been recently released. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. Do you think that Captain Marvel is going to be one of the highest grossing films on home release? Do you think it's going to be in that top 5? Where do you think it's going to end up? Obviously, right now it's at $1.164 million, or rather 1.164 million units sold, and it is currently ranked at number 4 on this list. Do you think that other movies coming out this year are going to be able to bunch it off? As I said before, I think there's enough movies that have a lot of passion behind it that still have to come out on home release this year that you could end up seeing Captain Marvel maybe top 5, maybe even top 10. At the end of the day, compared to other films, I really honestly believe it's not even going to come close. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about all these things in the comments below. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Tomorrow, once I'm up in Tennessee, everything should come back to normal as far as the overall look of the video is concerned. Thank you to everyone that was actually there for the for the live stream yesterday. But also, too, guys, if you want to support me, go ahead and click on a link. It's going to be in the description of this video to a place called Displate. So Displate offers really high quality posters on metal, which means that they're never going to crumple, they're never going to bend, and also the way that you hang it up is that you actually put little magnets on your wall, and you can literally hang it up, take it down, move it around all you want. It's actually very, very easy. I actually got my first 2 Displates, and they're actually right now up in Tennessee, so I can't wait to hang those up and show you. I got an Alita one, and as you can see here, this is actually my own personal choice of my favorite movies. So I got this one right here from Alita, and I got this one right here from John Wick, because let's just be honest, those are badass. So go ahead and click on the link, and it'll help out the channel a lot. Also, if you buy today, you can get 35% off any and all orders by using the code ALOHA. As you can see it up there, it ends today. So if you do want to take advantage of that, use my link. It'll help out the channel, but also use that code ALOHA, and I should be getting my own personal code to be able to get you 15% off all orders after today, and I'll, of course, keep you guys posted on that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.